Summary of Essential Negotiation by Gavin Kennedy. Major and minor differences. Negotiation is a defining human trait and an essential element of human social interaction. People are interdependent. To keep the wheels of commerce and social interaction turning, they must maintain good relations with one another. When they face conflicts, negotiating enables them to arrive at a mutually beneficial outcome. Thus, people negotiate constantly, over large and small issues alike, from where to go on vacation to the delineation of international boundaries. Negotiation plays an important role in history, since it can replace violent behavior. Talking over a conflict usually has better results than combat. In war, the victor confiscates the assets. In negotiation, however, both parties gain access to valuable resources. Everyone walks away with something positive. And unlike war, which often exacerbates the hostility between the parties, negotiating produces a new basis for social relationships. As Winston Churchill said, "Jaw is better than war." Some people criticize negotiating because they believe both sides must give up something to achieve progress and stability. However, while such negotiations do occur, more often, both parties win. They begin talking because they want different things. They value them differently and will pay different prices for them. The differences bring the parties to the table. In the following example, each party places a different value on the item, each has different motivations for buying it, and each is delighted with the outcome. The owner of a swamped boat agrees to sell it for £6,000. He is pleased, since the boat had become worthless to him and he actually expected to have to pay to dispose it. The buyer, a prop manager for a film company, is also pleased. Her budget for obtaining a boat was £10,000 and she saved her company £4,000. At a climactic moment in a film, the prop manager's producer would set the boat on fire. The outcomes of a negotiating session are not always this positive. Inexperienced negotiators may not get what they want, or their negotiating partner may take advantage of them. They may be coerced into giving something for nothing. In the best negotiations, however, both parties begin in a spirit of give and take, and both freely consent to the outcome. The following are some of the core principles and terms involved in negotiating. Add-on, an additional charge. Negotiators use add-ons to increase the original bid. Adjournment, a pause in the discussions. Adjournments can raise the level of expectations, so when the parties return they will make more progress. They can also give the parties time to analyze the situation. If you call an adjournment, everyone should understand what its purpose is and when the group will reconvene. Agent represents the principals in a negotiation and acts in their best interests. Agents often facilitate buying and selling of goods and services, and are common in real estate. In some countries, non-citizens must use a local agent to conduct business. If you enter into an agency agreement, make sure your agreement clearly spells out the following 4 areas: limits on liability and authority, limits on territory, how you'll terminate the relationship and when the termination clause will take effect. The principal-agent problem arises if the agent fails to do what the client requires. Aim high, asking for more than you expect, because you will never get more than you ask for. Weak negotiators with low expectations are usually the first to compromise. Those with higher goals tend to make small concessions and to be slow to give in to demands. Auction, a type of sale in which buyers compete. The following are the 3 types of auctions. 1. Regular, all parties bid on an item and the highest bidder wins. 2. Dutch, the auctioneer starts with a high price and comes down until a buyer emerges. 3. Victory sealed bid, the highest bidder wins, but pays the price offered by the second highest bidder. Authority, the power to reach binding deals. Deal with the organ grinder, not the monkey. If a negotiator does not have authority, he or she should say so and call for an adjournment when the discussions reach a critical point. Then, the negotiator should meet with superiors to obtain permission to proceed. Avoidance model, faced with a choice between 2 bad alternatives, most people choose neither. Instead, they avoid choosing. When this happens in a negotiation, one party is usually more inclined to compromise than the other. Bagatelle, an expensive item repackaged in tiny units so a party can present it as cheap, for example, phone service sold in 3-minute intervals or a ream of paper by the sheet. A bagatelle is a ruse to overcome objections about price. Behavioral styles, colors represent the 3 types of negotiating behavior. 1. Red e aggressive, bluffing, intimidating and even using dirty tricks. 2. Blue e naive, succumbing to ploys and often giving something for nothing. 3. Purple e balanced, using conditional language to trade and reach a fair solution. Best alternative to negotiated agreement, BATNA. This is the alternative you have in case you don't reach an agreement. Know it in advance. The better your BATNA compared to the proposals during the negotiation, the more power you have. Brooklyn optician, a seller who keeps adding surcharges, supposedly named for a New York businessman who was an expert at this add-on ploy. For example, the normal charge for an item is $250, but it's $10 more on weekends. Delivery is $25, but more outside of a 2-block radius. Cash before performance, requiring payment before you provide a service. Service providers who do not accept credit or whose customers might demand a refund may impose this requirement. Buyers may agree to it in exchange for a lower price. Claiming value, taking a larger percentage of the prize than you deserve, is a technique red-style negotiators use in a distributive bargain, in which one party's loss is the other's gain. Claiming value precludes creating value, in which both parties benefit. Closes, the culmination of a bargaining session. The following are 3 common closes. 1. Summary, a statement of what has transpired and what each side has agreed to do. 2. Adjournment, if a summary close fails to produce a call to close negotiations, the parties can adjourn. 3. Traded movement, an agreement to settle smaller, unresolved issues before reaching a final agreement. A traded movement is an incremental step toward closing negotiations and reaching an accepted bargain. Commitment ploy, techniques you can use to convince the other party you are serious about a threat. For example, if you threaten to close a plant by reminding the other party that you have closed plants before, you've demonstrated your commitment to your threat. Conditional language, to be used in explaining your terms for reaching a settlement. Don't give things away, and don't ask others to do so. Instead, bargain, if you will do such and such, then I will agree to do so and so. Decision analysis, a method of assessing your options by estimating their value and multiplying it by their probability. Devalued concessions, rewards that lose their value simply because they are given. Negotiators who become too greedy spurn the concessions the other parties make. First offer, always reject it. Game theory, a quantitative approach to conflict resolution. It relies on several assumptions. The identity of the players and their number are known to everyone. All players are rational. The payoffs to each player are known. Each player's strategies are known and fixed. Guanxi, pronounced Guanxi, the Chinese practice of valuing personal relationships over market realities. You receive licenses and permissions depending on whom you know. Level up the work, level down the price. The buyer tells the seller which features he or she wants, level up the work, and then asks for a lower price, level down the price. Lifeboat clause, contingency language inserted into a contract that enables a party to back out of the agreement. Listening, the least successful skill of the below-average negotiator. Mother Hubbard, insisting on a lower price by claiming that you can't afford the seller's price. Noah's Ark, a technique, so-called because it is as ancient as Noah's Ark, in which the buyer argues that the seller should reduce the price because other sellers are cheaper. Counter by asking if the competing proposal includes the same advantages as yours or by asking why, in that case, the buyer is bothering to meet with you. Offers, always conditional. When you make an offer, specify the duties of the other party, but keep yours vague. When the other party accepts your offer, you've reached an agreement. Perry Mason ploy, asking pointed questions to try to get the other party to admit to something that will disqualify him or her from the negotiation. If you encounter a Perry Mason, either don't answer the questions or insist on knowing their purpose. Quivering quill, a buyer's pressure tactic for getting last-minute concessions from the seller. The buyer prepares to sign the agreement, raises the pen, the quivering quill, and hesitates. The anxious seller panics and offers a 1% price reduction if the buyer signs right away. Sell cheap, get famous, offering a low price because of the seller's lack of a track record. In return, the buyer claims, the seller will gain valuable experience and a good reputation. Teaching wolves to chase sleds, making small concessions to gain an advantage or relieve pressure. This is like throwing food to the wolves that are chasing your sled. It doesn't deter the wolves, but rather encourages them to chase you to get more food. Yesable proposition, asking the buyer a series of easy questions to which the answer is obviously yes, then posing a final, more difficult question in the hope that the buyer will say yes to that one as well, out of habit. Zuthan's conflict avoidance model, a two-stage process to determine how much conflict you will accept. First, compare the value of sticking to your current position with that of accepting the other party's offer. Next, evaluate the potential for a conflict or a breakdown in negotiations if you stick to your offer, and decide whether the conflict is worthwhile.